This is a podcast about one woman's mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners write better business books. Each week, we tackle your writing excuses, because there are excuses too, and help you beat the blank page of doom so that you can write the book that'll grow your life and your business. Now here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Welcome to the 1000 Authors Show. I am Vicky Quinn Fraser, and this week I have put together a very impromptu last-minute interview with my friend Jocelyn Brady, who is the Brain Coach. She's actually she's writing her book, which is very exciting, but that's not what we're talking about today. I wanted to get her onto the podcast to talk about the importance of play and creativity, because we could all do with a little more play in our lives, right? Jocelyn is a friend of the podcast. She's been on the podcast before. I will, with no further ado, present me and Jocelyn talking about playing. Enjoy. So we're here to play with brains again with Jocelyn Brady, who has been on the podcast before, friend of the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, Jocelyn has just put her brain on her head, which is fantastic. Jocelyn, welcome back to the 1000 Authors Show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun talking to you, and now on the extra dimension of Zoom, because we're on Voxer quite a lot with each other right now.
Yes, we are, because Jocelyn is writing. Oh, no, I can't say that out loud. It's fine. I don't know. Can I? What are you doing?
You can. Yes, you can. Yes, I'm writing. I am writing a book. Thanks to Vicky and your wonderful coaching program. I've gotten like 30,000 words out. I don't know how many of them will make it to the book, but I've never made this much progress, and I'm super stoked.
That is so exciting. But that is not why we're here today, because you're going to come back at some point and talk about your actual book. But today we're going to talk about playing, because that is it's just really it's really important. And I've just bought a book based on you telling me that a book was good. So the book Play. But I'm looking at a thing that you've written. Feel like your brain is like, nah, when you're tasked with a creative project, and being creative is literally your job. Yes, I feel like that all the time. Why does this happen, Jocelyn?
I mean, so, right now I'm really deep in this dopamine research rabbit hole, and it's fascinating because this is a molecule that has an outsized effect on motivation, creativity, movement, and even time perception. It's crazy. It's like 0.005% of your brain manufactures this stuff, but it has this crazy control over this. And I think for a lot of us, that plays a big role. Is this, if we're not feeling motivated to do something and just feeling like, no, I would like to sit around and do nothing, it could be partially a dopamine problem. And then you look at burnout, you look at what's been happening for, what's it been, 18 months or so since the world thing. And that's just been total chaos, and yet total sameness for a lot of us, right? Put into this environment for those of us who didn't work at home in creative occupations, we were forced into it, or welcome. I like working from home, and then just sort of all of our routines destroyed. Our social calendars became non-existent. The things that we need to have novelty and adventure and like jostle our brains were taken away and replaced by a lot of weird sameness, stress, doom scrolling, and just wiping out motivation, creativity, drive. I mean, all of that, just kind of the pool became drained and it never really refilled.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of people are listening are going to really relate to that, because it's just, and it's weird as well, because like I've always worked at home on my own. I've always run my own business. So I've spent quite a lot of time thinking, well, I should be fine. What's wrong with me? Because this is not different from me. And yet I've been like totally exhausted. And so it's almost a relief to hear that, like, oh, you're not just being a whiny brat. It's like, this is an exhausting time, because even if, the life changed for everybody, right? So it's exhausting for everybody.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, where does that come from? What's my motivation? It's like the old, hello, my cat just jumped on my lap. She is here to play. I think we're just not getting that like influx of joy and wonder, curiosity. So those things are just being so dampened by, and like replaced again by here's everything that's going wrong in the world. And, and then just for me, it's looking around and going, I hate doing the dishes, for example, and I've never gotten better at it. And it's just like, that's constantly there. And I've not, because I'm so drained in other ways, or a lot of people feel this, you just see those things that you have to do as even more monumental tasks in the way. And all that stuff is just taking up cognitive resources and,
yeah.
Lack of play also killing us.
Yeah, I feel you with the washing up. But yeah, let's talk about play a little bit. How do we bring some of that joy back into our lives?
Yeah, well, we talked last time. You have a banana suit that I covet, and I have a penguin suit. Like that's one of the ways. One of the things is just what makes you feel silly and what makes you laugh, even if nobody else is around. It just sort of literally stepping into another wardrobe, or, even little things like looking at your own wardrobe and going, what is something in here I would never pair or wear together, and wearing that can have a huge impact on your day. And just sort of walking around going, I'm trying on this new suit, this new skin, this new personality, and little things like that. And then just, getting into conversation with people you find curious and fascinating, putting your attention out onto the world and what you find fascinating and who's interesting to you. And once you have those conversations, that can really jostle your brain. Yeah. And it's like tapping into what you found joy in when you were a kid, going outside and jumping in the puddles. It's raining here again in Portland. And I can get really moody about the rain. But then once I'm outside doing it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like super fun. And just putting on hiking boots and jumping around, and it's you tap into that joy again.
I love that. I'm also a puddle jumper. Living in the UK, we have a lot of puddles all the time. So, but yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how to play them, because one of the things that I think holds adults back from playing is this idea that it's a childish thing and it's a waste of time. So can you talk to us a little bit about how that's bullshit and why it's important for us to play in ways beyond all of that stuff you said was brilliant. And I do think that kind of wearing ridiculous clothes is a form of play and kind of talking to people. But let's talk a little bit about that aspect and the kind of weird stigma that we have around playing.
What's bullshit is being serious all the time and following the so-called rules that somebody else made up. And I can get on my soapbox about this, but the clock in, clock out mentality, 9 to 5 mentality is garbage. And that is draining. It's killing our creativity. Sir Ken Robinson talks about this, like what we do when we put children into boxes, color in the lines, sit like in the pastor pupil setup, all of it gets rid of your creativity. So it's no wonder by the time you get to the workforce, called workforce, you.
Yeah.
Here that's been drilled out of you. And there's, at this point, you've been conditioned for how many years, a couple decades, that there's one way to do things. Here's how you follow the rules. This is how you get in line. And it's like everything turns to gray and it's drained. The ability to take risks has been diminished, and you can't be creative if you're not allowed to take risks.
No.
And yeah, I think the stigma around play, like you said, being childish, it's like, well, I want to ask those people, what is wrong with that? Like what?
Yeah.
Children have the most active imaginations and have so much joy in that, novelty and exploration. What's that? Yes.
Toddler dancing is which is coincidentally how I dance. But watch a toddler dancing and how much joy and lack of self-consciousness they have. You mentioned the Ken Robinson TED Talk. People listening should absolutely go and watch that. And I can't remember all of the stuff in it because there's a lot of cool stuff that he said. But I think it's really important to remember as well that all of that stuff, it was designed that way. It was designed to kill the creativity and the thinking outside the boxness of things, because what they wanted with the Industrial Revolution was automatons to work in factories, right? They didn't want people thinking. They wanted people marching into factories and just doing the do, and that's what worked then. But it's not going to work now, is it? We need people to play and we need people to be innovative, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even, did that tiny tip on tears. And I found in that research really fascinating that men used to cry openly across cultures, far more openly and demonstrably expressive. And that was drilled out in at least in the West in the Industrial Revolution, where literally it's in managers' guidebooks that this display of emotion is killing productivity. So if you want to have the most productive people kill their humanity, their creativity, their curiosity, and like watch all of these mental illness has been on the rise, suicide rates have been on the rise. And I'm not saying that play is the salve for all of it, but it can certainly help. And creating a culture where we embrace that vital evolutionary need. We wouldn't be here if we didn't know how to play and explore and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have to come back and revisit so many aspects of this at some point, because I'm just like, I've got so many rabbit holes that I could go down with, like, industrial bullshit and the patriarchy and white supremacy and everything. It's like all the same bloody thing. But back in the room, can you talk a little bit about how we can bring play into our everyday, like, we're talking, I mean, I'm talking to writers here, so I'm going to be asking about writers, but and I also want to talk about your play shop in a minute, because that's very exciting and I'm coming along to it. But can you talk a little bit about the importance of play in writing and creativity generally, and business, and how we can use it to, like, wake up our brains and get them to do useful things?
First thing that came to mind is like Jabberwocky, and Dr. Seuss, and people who really played with words and made up words. How much fun is that?
Yes.
And I think that's a really good way, because as someone who's, my livelihood has been largely writing and expressing through words, like many of us, you can tend to get stuck in thinking, well, it needs to be perfect before it even comes out. I need to figure out exactly what I'm saying before I say it. And that's just not how it works. So you got to get the clay out before you can start to mold it. And if you're hating that process, it's probably not going to be something you enjoy looking at the end. And so, yeah, I think with writing, it's like, how do you get silly just like for yourself? Like what makes you laugh? Can you go write a poem that makes absolutely no sense? I just dug up a song that me and a friend wrote when we were 13, and it's ridiculous. Poor little toad got eaten by the road. And that is like tapping into that, like looking at kids' books and how to make things rhyme. Again, make no sense with it at first. And that might unlock some joy and new ideas.
Yes, I love. I've read the lyrics to Jocelyn's Toad song, and I loved it so much. It reminded me of my husband recorded me without my knowing singing a song about pie in the kitchen when I was making pie, and it's just so. Yeah, I love that. Make up songs. Yeah, that's a really cool thing to do. Nonsense songs.
Yeah, we're constantly doing that at home. One of my favorites is it's called Tree Baby, and it's just. Tree baby, tree baby, tree baby, look at it grow. And that's it. And we just like kind of hop around the house like toads doing that. So it's helpful.
I love it. And I have the Paddington Bear song, which goes, Paddington Bear, Paddington Bear, Paddington, Paddington, Bear face. And it's like my nursery rhyme. It's great.
Yeah. And so those things just sort of, I guess, like loosening things up and getting into a place of levity. And as you know, in that book, play Dr. Stuart Brown talks about that. Once we stop playing, we start dying. It's one of my favorite quotes in that story that I love of the hungry polar bear who decided to play with the dogs instead of eat them. And just showing that play overrides in some cases even the need for eating. That's how important it is. It's how we learn, it's how we grow, it's how we explore. So
yeah. Okay, so tell us about your play shop. How are you? Why did you put something together for people to, like? What is it? Tell us what it is.
Yeah, I think so. I get easily bored, and a lot of the workshops I've been to are just like wah wah wah. Sounds like wah wah to me a lot of the time, and I just like, we just like have some silly activities and have things you can reuse, meet some people, talk, learn from each other, and have silly games. Because I don't think we get enough of that. And I think a lot of at least from my experience, been to a lot of workshops, and they're very serious. Sometimes they're extremely helpful, but so serious. And I just think it's a really good opportunity to like come, let go, be silly, have fun, and get some perspective and some tools that you can use when you are feeling stuck, and like help us get out of ruts. Unfortunately, it is on Zoom. I know how much we love being on Zoom all the time, but hopefully we can even have fun with that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So, so what kind of people are you hoping are going to come along to? I mean, I'm already booked on. So you should, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, a play shop, that sounds like fun. It's going to be fun because everything that Jocelyn does is fun. So come along to it. But what kind of people are you hoping will come along, and what will they get out of it?
I mean, anyone who has to use their brain to create stuff. And that includes writers, designers, strategists, engineers, who all of these people are coming. Have an architect, maybe actual neuroscientist or two. But yeah, people who have to come up with new ideas and ways of doing things and like learning and growing. And so I think it's really important to have a variety of, diversity of brains and perspectives. That makes it way more fun. And I think anyone, maybe not people who are sensitive to words like shitty and swear words, because I will be using them probably. I did write about that in one of my articles. It's effective. But yes, anyone who has a sense of humor and a brain and creates stuff.
Cool. Which hopefully is everybody listening to this podcast. I can't imagine. There's definitely not going to be people listening to this podcast who are offended by swear words, because I swear quite a lot. So you're all right there. Cool. Okay. Right. I am going to ask now where people can go and find this marvelous play shop of yours.
Yes, you go to jocelynbrady.com, and there's a little bar right at the top. That's probably the easiest way to do it. If you find me on Instagram, I am at Jostle Them, and I do have the link in the little link tree at the top there.
Cool. So and I will also put the link in the show notes as well, so that people can click on that easily. So I did have a couple more questions, because I've just realized I've just like totally sprung this on you. This is like, in my defense, this was a last minute podcast decision interview. So if I sound less organized than usual, that is 100% on me. But one of the things that I have been doing is quick fire questions for people.
Hey, let's play. I thought of all the people that I could spring this on, you'd probably be the person who was fine with that. So, and this is an idea, and I keep having to mention this. It's an idea that I totally swiped from Brené Brown in her podcast. She does the quick fire questions at the end, and I was like, that's a great idea. So, Jocelyn Brady, what are you reading right now? The Molecule of More. I just finished. It's great. Cool. It's about dopamine.
Okay, brilliant. I think I've got that on my list of books to read, because I am having a little obsession with being playful and more fun at the moment too, thanks to you. What is a favorite book of yours? When I say your favorite, like full stop, but a favorite.
Ooh, the BFG came to mind.
Yeah, love it. And a favorite film?
Ace Ventura.
Nice. And what's the last thing you binge watched?
The last thing I binge watched, we just watched 9 Perfect Strangers with Nicole Kidman and Melissa McCarthy. It's a great cast.
Yeah.
Ooh, and the other one that feels like that, the tropical one. You know what I'm talking about? White Lotus. Oh
no, I have not. I don't know anything about either of those. Are they? Should I watch?
Yeah, White Lotus is phenomenal. And the writer of that, I believe he wrote that whole series in 2 months, just sort of, and it's set in Hawaii. So obviously a soft spot.
Yes. For those who are listening who don't know, Jocelyn grew up in Hawaii. So it's pretty much home to her. Okay. What is your favorite place?
Yeah, I would have to say Hawaii and follow that. It's a place actually that's no longer there because the lava took it away. So it's now just up here in my brain. And, but that ethos, just being in the islands, there's nothing can compare.
And what does having power mean to you?
I can turn the lights on.
I like that answer. What are you grateful for right now?
My kitty's health, because we just had a cancer spleen removed from Lexi Cat, and she's doing great.
Yay, Lexi. I'm so glad. She's looking really well as well. What are you most proud of?
Starting my book.
Yes. And then it's going to be finishing your book because that's going to happen soon too. And what is on your bedside table? Or your nightstand, as Americans call it?
I think like a lot of cups that need to be taken to the kitchen.
Nice. There's usually a half empty glass or half full glass of water on mine. So that's cool. Okay. And final question, because I realized that I totally forgot to properly introduce you at the beginning. Tell us what it is that you do.
Right. Yeah. Primarily work as a brain coach. So helping people understand their brains better so they can create what they most want before they die. And hopefully that involves more playtime, more creativity, and more finding more joy and fulfillment in what you're creating in your life. Amazing.
And like, go and find Jocelyn on social media. Go and find her on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Follow her tiny tips for your brain because she's just a wise owl. But not just that, you're really funny. I'm going to stop talking about you in the third person because that's weird because I'm looking at you. And you're funny and like you bring a joy to everything that you do. And you've just got this way of looking at the world that makes people sit up and go, huh. Which is so fun. And so, yeah, listeners to the podcast, go check out Jocelyn's Instagram, LinkedIn, book onto the Play Shop. Will there be a replay available if people can't make it live?
Yes, replay. And I am making a little booklet filled with things that I find fascinating, resources, things about creativity, YouTube or videos you can watch, and books to read, and fun quotes, things like that, and exercises, of course.
Amazing! I'm really excited. I'm gonna be there live. I can't remember what time it is. In fact, I can tell you right now because it is 9 p.m. UK time, which is not that late at all. So 9 p.m. UK time. I'm really excited about it. The link is in the show notes, so you can go to jocelynbrady.com, and there's a little band at the top for you to follow, or find Jocelyn on social media and DM her and ask her for all the details, and I will hopefully see you there. Yay. Jocelyn, thank you so much for joining me for this impromptu playtime interview, and I'm really looking forward to having you back again to talk about your book.
I love it. Yes, thank you for the impromptu invite. Suki also came to say hello and goodbye.
Yay. Thank you so much. That was me and Jocelyn talking about playing and creativity. And I really hope that you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed chatting to Jocelyn. Do go and check out her creativity workshop, her play shop. It's going to be, I'm genuinely excited about it. I was just saying to her in our chat at the end, I sign up for a lot of workshops and things. This is the first one in ages that I have been properly excited about, because it's not going to be, I really like getting involved and doing stuff and doing activities and things. And that is what this is going to be about. It's going to be an activity boosting playtime, basically playtime for grownups, which I'm really excited about. So if you go to jocelynbrady.com, there'll be a band at the top of the website that you can click on. Also follow her on Instagram and find her on LinkedIn. All of those links will be in the show notes, so you can click on there and find out. If you're not sure where to find her, drop me a line and I will put you in touch with her. But I really hope to see you at the Play Shop. Very excited about it. Creativity at Play Workshop on October the 13th, which is we talked about it for ages, and then I did not ask her when it was. October the 13th is Wednesday, October the 13th at 9 p.m. UK time. So it's not too late. I'm going to be there. I hope you all too. October 13th, making sure that goes in the show notes as well. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review us, share it with your friends. And thank you so much, as always, for listening. It's, would be no point making this if you weren't here to listen. So thank you. And if you have any questions for me or for any of my guests, drop me a line, vicky@moxiebooks.co.uk. Ask me anything. We will answer them on the podcast, or I will put them through to the person who can best answer your question. Thank you. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. You can find links and show notes on the website at moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast, where you can also sign up for the best daily emails in the multiverse and find loads of free resources to help you write your book. We'll be back the same time next week with more tales from the book writing trenches and the latest on what the tiny sheeps have been up to.